Welcome to another episode of Stay Paid. I'm Joshua Stike along with Luke Acree, and our guest today is a rising star on Netflix and moving on to like HGTV and Discovery Plus, as well as one of the stars of $1 Million Beach House, JB Andreassi.
Yes, and he's only, I think he said 31.
31!
So many golden nuggets. Imagine being a new agent and being on TV and dealing with some of the richest buyers and sellers in the world. He talks all about it on the show. Can't wait for you guys to hear it.
Yeah, a little bit of a teaser. He does go into what it's like for the clients to actually, their experience while being followed around by film crews and all of that going on in that show. But before we bring him on, we'd love it if you take a minute to subscribe to Stay Paid on Apple Podcasts or Spotify if you're not already. And while you're there, drop us a review to let us know how we're doing. We'll read it here on the show. I also want to call special attention to our YouTube channel. So producer Ariel has been putting up a ton of shorts. So make sure that you're subscribed to ReminderMedia on YouTube. You can get it at youtube.com/ReminderMedia. Super simple there. We put up motivational shorts, not only from our podcast, but from other content that we're consistently putting out as well. And now let's get into this week's interview.
From Reminder Media, this is Stay Paid, a sales and marketing podcast on a mission to help you close more deals and retain more business. Hosted by the VP of Marketing, Josh Stike, and Reminder Media's president, Luke Acree. So get ready to hear the golden nuggets that will allow you to live a life of freedom tomorrow, but only if you take action today.
All right, everybody, you might recognize our guest today as he was a cast member on Netflix's $1 Million Beach House. His name is JB Andreassi, and while he's not starring on TV shows, he is serving his real estate clients throughout the Hamptons and Long Island, as well as running Andreassi Development. In January 2022, he'll be starring in a brand new show called Selling the Hamptons on Discovery Plus and HGTV. JB, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, guys, for having me. This is an honor and pleasure. I've been following your stuff on Instagram. Love what you're doing. So just glad to be here and shoot, so to speak.
Love it, man. Awesome. Hey, bro, we've been excited to have you on the show. I want to dive right in, right? Because, we have a lot of entrepreneurs that listen to this show, a lot of real estate agents, insurance agents, financial advisors, kind of small businesses listening to this. And I'm curious, hey, why did you choose real estate? Well, what drove you into real estate, choosing to be a real estate agent? The failure rate is super high, as everybody who's been in real estate knows. So what led you to that?
So my love, Luke, is really in sports. So I came out of school and I started right out the gate. I worked for the NHL, National Hockey League in Midtown Manhattan, and was really loving what I was doing. However, didn't really see the upward trajectory. I'm an Ivy League guy. I'm a little bit arrogant, so to speak, especially, early 20s. We think we're going to conquer the world by 25, 30. And my thing was I loved what I was doing, but I was making $40,000 a year, working my tail off, trying to pay rent in, Fidei and down in Hoboken and things like that. And I was like, you know what, maybe this isn't the career. Maybe, down the road, I can bring this back, this love and passion I have for sports back into the mix. But for right now, I need to figure out a way to make money and really make an impact and feel good about what I'm doing. So really, it's that. And also my dad, when I grew up, he was a builder out in the Hamptons. So he was one of the first luxury single family home builders out in the Hamptons. And I grew up on backhoes and tractors and building, he built $5-10 million homes out here. So my love really for real estate started then. I think sports was a big thing that came in later in life, in my teenage years and a little bit after. But I figured, let me see what else is out there. I'm young enough. If I jump into this and I fail, I can land on my 2 feet. I have enough resources around me. So it was a little bit of a gamble, but decided, so my friend who is working for Related Development, they've done big developments all across the country. She's moving to DC. This is back in November 2017, I want to say. And I was a little bit upset with what I was doing at the NHL. And she said, JB, look, I have this opportunity for you. I know you've been thinking about the real estate thing, jumping into something else. I have this opportunity for you to move down to DC with me, sell up this 400-unit, most expensive building in DC, get some very, very good hands-on experience with the real estate world. And all you got to do is leave your job. And I was very nervous. I'm a conservative guy. And I was like, I don't know if I can do this. But sure enough, put in my 10-day notice and was moving to DC like 2 weeks later and started my real estate journey.
So that's trial by fire, man. You're trying to sell 400 apartment units. I guess what's the one lesson you took away from that, diving right in, doing the grind to try to sell these 400 units?
Yeah, don't be scared don't be intimidated by the unknown, right? And kind of learn to find comfort in the uncomfortability of situations. And I think what I learned down there is how to really develop this work ethic, how to find my identity as a person. I think a lot of times you think you know yourself at 22, 23, 24, but it takes some time to really understand what your values are, how best to apply those values, both being successful in your career and in work, but also with personal relationships in your family and friends as well.
It's such a golden nugget. I'm learning myself. I'm 33 myself, and it's like so interesting. The older you grow and you mature, you realize, man, so much of what you do in life is based upon trying to fit in to the opinions of others. And it's not just the opinions of, most people think about it in the classic way of like, oh, I'm trying to be cool. Like I'm trying to fit in high school, but it's not just that. It's actually like the opinions of like, how do I make money in this business world? Like, how do I do it the right way? Or how do I, fit in from an influencer standpoint or something like that? And then the older you get, the more you realize, I'm just going to be comfortable in who I am, my values. I'm just going to do me. And the confidence to do that is what attracts people. It attracts actually the business and the relationships. I don't know if you have found the same.
It's 100% right. And I got to be honest, I'm better with it. I'm 31, so a little bit younger than you, but essentially we're in the same age group where, again, I constantly was comparing myself, comparing sales to others, comparing my looks to others. And you kind of over time, with enough experiences, you figure out you're okay with who you are. And the best way to maximize both performance and, again, like just bettering relationships is to live in the moment, stop comparing yourselves to others, because you're okay. And you're not going to be, we look at people that are in their 50s, the Bezoses of the world, that's a outlier, right? But very successful, like hedge fund managers for me, my clients. And I'm like, these guys are absolutely so successful, loaded, and it's so sophisticated, so smart, and they're 50 years old though. It takes time to get there. And I think that's the biggest lesson I've learned over the last 5-10 years. And what I tell people that look to me for mentorship, it's just that. It's just you're okay right now. It's going to be all right. Just stick to the path, continue to work your tail off, and things will just start to happen, and you'll become successful over time.
Yeah. Well, I'm turning 40 next month, so you guys are on the right track, man. You figured that out a lot younger than I did. So JB, talk a little bit about $1 Million Beach House. Like, how did that opportunity come up? How did you get on that show? Was that something you kind of pursued? Was that something that, I know a lot of times people tell these stories, it's like, I just had an opportunity. Is that something you were going after?
Not at all. So I was, totally sort of blindsided by it. I've had no prior TV experience, and to do one better, I don't even like reality TV. So I can't even watch, The Bachelor, all these Kardashians. I actually, and $1 Million Listing for that matter, couldn't even watch it. But, I was approached by my firm. So I moved out to the Hamptons from being in the city, being in DC, and moved back to the Hamptons where I'm from and born and raised about 3 years ago now. And I heard rumblings about a show that was going to be created. I wasn't a part of it at that time. Netflix had their cast already set, and the roles were already defined. But there was a person who was supposed to be on the show who got in a little bit of trouble. There was an opening sort of simultaneously when I was moving out there. And my buddy on the show, this guy, Mike Fulfrey, is the big six. If you've seen the show, whoever's listening, it's this big 6'4", 250-pound guy. He's my best friend from high school. He was already going to be on the cast. And the CEO, Eddie Shapiro, who created the show and runs our company, said, Mike, is there anyone else that could fill in? This guy, you got in some trouble. Netflix is looking for someone to fill in. And Mike immediately put his sales hat on and was like, look, you gotta check out this dude, JB. He comes from the Hamptons. He knows the Hamptons. He has a real estate background. He worked for Related for 2 years. Ivy League guy. And just good looking enough. And I think just good looking enough to be on TV. And that's what sold Eddie. So I sit down with Eddie Shapiro and he's like, the boss again, and he goes, "Hey man, would you ever consider being on a reality TV show?" And I give it a second, and I'm like, probably not, to be honest, but pitch me on it. And he goes into it, and I said, I'll think about it, I'll bring it back to my family. My family was like, absolutely not. You're not doing it. We're conservative, reputable family in the Hamptons. Like they can make you out to be whatever they want. And it turned out to be one of the best decisions I've ever made. And I had to make that decision and break away from my family's influence for once, for the first time. And, the reason I do it, people ask, is it to get a competitive advantage in real estate? Yeah, it is, sure. But it's also what opportunities may come from this. I don't know. Am I going to be doing real estate for the next 10 years? Maybe. Or it could be someone that's entrepreneur starting a fund or has a product creation, and he wants me to be his number two guy because he sees me on the show. He sees that I'm sharp and well liked. And I think that's the beauty of it, is just the opportunities that could come from this thing.
What a golden nugget there of, having to break away from the ones that love you to get, into a new way or get uncomfortable. I think we often see that in entrepreneurs. It's oftentimes your mom or your dad or, your brother, your sister, friend, like, no, don't do that, because they care about your safety, right? They care about, hey, we want to protect you. We want to make sure you're safe. We want to make sure you're on a good path, protection. So it's playing defense versus like the opportunities. A lot of times, as they say, as corny as it is out on the limb. So you got to get out there on the limb, and it could break and it could be bad, but it also presents opportunity. What is it like working with luxury buyers? And I should say luxury buyers and sellers for that matter. What is it like? Share the goods on that.
Sure. So here in the Hamptons, for those who don't know, this is probably one of the most expensive home markets in the entire country, meaning that the people that I work with on a day-to-day basis, whether they're selling their home, purchasing their home, using me as their representative, or investing, these are people that are the richest people in the world. So dealing with billionaires is stressful. These guys, they're in the positions most of the time that they're in because they're the best at what they do and the smartest at what they do. So for me, it's a privilege, but it's also, there's a lot of accountability that comes with it, a lot of trust, a lot of sacrifice with my personal relationships to make sure that I'm servicing my clients the best way possible. The other thing is, a lot of these guys are older, right? These guys are, 40s, 50s, 60s. And they look at me as a 30-year-old and they're like, they look at me as a kid. I'm not a kid, but in their eyes, I am. And they think back to when they were 30 years old, and they may not have been in that same level or position of success that they're in now. And that makes it a little bit more challenging, but it's, I kind of like that. I kind of like the fight and sort of being the underdog in ways and competing to get listings. And the show shows a lot of that, but on the day-to-day, it's a lot of work. It's tough. And I used to, just to go back to this, I used to think real estate agents, like anyone could be a real estate agent. I was like, man, my little sister, she's 10 years old. She could be a real estate agent. But I've come to find that if you do it at a really high level, and I think that applies to really any job, if you do it at a really high level, it doesn't matter what you do. It's just like that sort of level of expectations that you make for yourself and just delivering on that day to day, minute to minute, hour to hour. And I find some like solace and peace with that.
Love that. Can you give any advice? You're dealing with people 50, 60, the richest in the world type people, right? So that comes with a level of like almost fear, like when you're going to do that listing presentation or that buyer consult, right? How do you speak confidently? How do you do that sales presentation? I think it's very similar probably for new agents getting into the business who have no sales experience. They've never done a listing or anything like that. Any tips of advice for like their presentations, how they approach the sale, the relationship that you've found?
What I found is that fear, you're going to have that fear and those nerves. And it's not the good ones, you're going to prepare, you're going to do your homework, and you're going to be well-versed. You're going to know your product and how to pitch it and present it. You just have to do it. It's really just doing it, walking through the door, breaking through the door sometimes. And you're going to hear, as a starting agent, you're going to hear no a lot. My first year leaving the corporate real estate world and being like a single agent, so to speak, I made $18,000. This was 3 years ago, you know? So it's humbling, and you have to sort of have that tenacity, that perseverance. And it's not always easy, but find resources around you, whether it's friends or family or people that do it in the business like me. Like I tell my audience, I'm always here. If you want to contact me, DM, whatever, I'm always here to help you through that, because I remember it wasn't too long ago when I was that nerved up agent and was scared of the unknown again, and not thinking I could be successful. And the thing is, those first couple times, you're probably going to hear no, and you're probably going to be sweaty, and you're probably going to stutter. But then after, it's like anything, just rep it, and it starts to come natural, and you start to figure out what worked in that conversation, what didn't. And then you apply it to the next time, and you get better and better and better.
Love that. One of the things that Josh and I often share, especially with new agents, is like, you have to know your stuff, know the market, study the hot sheets, study the market every single day. Because when you have preparation, I always tell people, you get confidence on a subject matter. I think Grant Cardone is the one who says he feels confident to speak, even though he's not really a public speaker. When he has that confidence and credibility, he almost gets altitude on a subject matter. And so if you feel like, man, I don't have the confidence, it's like I play piano. And a lot of times when you get up on stage, you're nervous, but if you've practiced, your muscle memory takes over. And it's the same as when you're presenting in a listening presentation, you're doing a sales presentation. It's like, a lot of times your muscle memory will take over if you've done your reps that you're talking about, if you've done that. Hey, let's transition here. Let's talk a little bit about, because this is a sales and marketing podcast. I'm super interested to hear your marketing strategies to generate leads. You have this show, and I'm curious, is that actually producing business for you? How are you translating that to a social media strategy? Talk to us a little bit about your marketing.
For me specifically, it's a lot about, again, this is sort of, beating a dead horse, but it's networking. I find every way, every open hour, open day, if I have some open time, I'm going to the city, I'm in Manhattan, I'm meeting with people, I'm on the phone with our people that are in London or other luxury markets in South Beach and in Palm Beach or out in Hollywood Hills, and just having conversating, just figuring out what's new, what trends are they seeing, what clients are they working with, what are new properties, new tactics that they're finding. So a lot of it for me is networking. And then the other thing is just building. So I have a team now, right? So I have a team that serves as an extension of my brand. So those guys are the ones that go and do the cold outreach. And when they find something that could be warm, they bring me in. So the other thing to note as an entrepreneur, you can't do everything yourself. And you have to have that support system around. And I'm the type that I'm extremely stubborn. I've come to sort of quell that a bit and keep it sustained and just be a better person there. But I'm very self-aware of that. And I've had to sort of relinquish the reins sometimes and train people and coach up people that could help me present the message and just kind of be little just people that are like me. And so building the team is super important as well. But the TV show has brought about some business for sure. It's mainly from buyers, that people that are from other parts of the world that have seen this show and want to work with me when they're purchasing the Hamptons or even elsewhere. But even so, it's ever evolving, my marketing tactics and things like that.
So talk about this next show that you have coming out. This episode is coming out in November. So you said January. You've got a new show where now you're the star of the show. Yeah. It's kind of crazy how that's happened. Yep, star of the show, dude. And it kind of makes me a little bit uneasy. Like I'll get noticed when I'm out and they're like, oh, my friends are like, you're a celebrity. And I'm like, I'm not a celebrity. We have the same problem with Luke. You go anywhere with him. It's like, I could tell. Yeah.
Yeah. If we go to my family reunion, if we go to my high school reunion, no.
But yeah, no, I think what's cool to take from this is the show. It's unscripted reality. So people always say, they're like, oh, this is all scripted, right? This The Bachelor is scripted and all these other shows, but this is like actually what we're doing day to day. They may give us a topic that they bring the whole cast and may give us a topic to talk about, but there's no script. So it's really showing and conveying the work the tactics that we have to go and get these listings to procure these clients. What we like to do to have fun, to let loose a little bit when that work seems to get a little bit too stressful. And it's a really inside look, not only into us as agents out here, but also the Hamptons, right? So if you don't know anyone out here and you don't have enough like money or resources to get to the Hamptons, it's such a beautiful, beautiful place. And I'm so lucky to be born and raised here and be a local here. It's really, truly like a special, special spot. And it's cool for people to get to see that across the world.
How does that impact the selling or the buying process, like with clients? Like, how does that impact the overall experience when you've got cameras and crews following you around and these are just people looking for a house?
Great question. So I've actually lost a lot of business from it. People that don't understand I'm shooting for 6 hours in late May and they need me to help them find a $3 million home. And I'm just, usually if I'm off camera, I'm available any freaking minute, any hour of the day. Here, I'm not because I'm shooting. And it happened a couple times where I just couldn't get to that person. And they're like, JB, we love you. You're great at what you do. We understand what you're doing, but you just can't service us and fulfill the needs that we have as clients. So it's difficult. It's a difficult balance. I would say like only 25 to 30% of my day-to-day business is shown on the show. So a lot of those people that I work with day-to-day do not want to be a part of it at all. Again, are very supportive of it, but it just doesn't align with their brand. A lot of the people I work with are very private and just this, they don't really get what I'm doing and they do get what I'm doing, but doesn't really benefit them directly. So they're like, want to kind of stand away. Yeah. But it's definitely been challenging. The first season was a lot more difficult to manage because that was my first year in real estate when we shot the $1 Million Beach House season 1.
Wow.
This was my third season, again, dealing with pandemic, high volume craziness and having to shoot a show. It was difficult and it's draining. And thankfully I have the right people around me that I leaned on for support and love and they got me through it a little bit. But again, it's like anything else. You guys are grinding what you do. It's tough. We can sort of moan about it, but at the end of the day, it's for a greater good. And you get through it. You find ways to get through it.
Yeah, so well said, man. So got to ask you, we ask all successful people who come on the show, like what routines have you implemented in your life that you look at now and you go, yeah, that routine, that has proven successful for me?
I'm pretty into strict daily routines. When I wake up, it's immediately, I have a puppy. So now the puppy's changed over the last 8 months. It's feeding the puppy, getting him a little run, but it's 7 a.m. gym pretty much every work day, 5 days out of the week. A little bit of meditation, either before the gym or after the gym. I've come to learn that mental health is a big thing too. So when you're under these stresses and having to deliver for these clients, making sure that you're good internally is beneficial for you, but also very beneficial for the work that you provide for these guys. So yeah, it's routine. It's eating the right way. It's again, I'm a very physically active person, so I'm always running around. Yoga, meditation, cold showers, massage.
Do the cold showers work? I've heard people talk about the cold showers.
I think the cold showers for me is like, I do it to know that I can do it. So then I could take that and be like, I can conquer whatever else comes for the day. It's sort of like a metaphor in a way. It's not exactly like the physical pain, but it's more of like a mental kind of check to get through. I don't know if
I've never been able to do the cold showers yet. I think I'm a wimp. I think I need to try that. But we've had a lot of guests mention that on the show, like doing cold that showers. Cold showers. So my buddy who's into strongman competition, right? So he's competing in like the strongman competition. He jumps and he has a creek by his house. And in the winter, he'll have like Instagram videos of him jumping into this creek. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. Like that's real commitment right there to wake up your internal system or whatever it is.
The real thing would be, so to kind of like parlay off that, if I could jump in the ocean out here in like, I'm talking December, January, that would be some next level stuff. And I know some guys that do it, but I'm like, you can't get me there.
Yeah, that's David Goggins level, man. That's David Goggins level right there.
Exactly.
JB, last question. This one's a hardball. So we've been giving you a lot of softballs here. This is going to be a tough one. Knowing what you know now, what would you go back and tell your younger self? Maybe that high school age kid, the one before college, before getting into his first job at the NHL. What would you tell him?
I would tell them to enjoy the moment. Not enjoy the moment, but just be present in the moment and stop thinking about the future. Again, high school, I did really well in high school. I got to an Ivy League place, and all I thought about was like grades and tests and papers and being the best there. Just learn how to learn when you're young. You don't have to be at 20, know exactly what you want to do, but learn how to learn and take those applications and you'll be able to apply it in the future to whatever you're doing. So I think it's a couple of things that we already talked about. Don't compare yourselves to others. Live in the present moment, enjoy the moment, build a support system around you, whether it's friends or your family. Luckily, I'm blessed to have my parents and my siblings, so we spend all the off time we can together. But yeah, just enjoy the moment and things will shake out. Things will work out.
Love it. Great advice. JB, thanks so much for being here. Before we close out, let people know how they can connect with you.
Sure. So you can reach me on Instagram. I guess we can start there. It is 2021, JB_Andreassi. Hopefully they have my last name spelling up there. It's a long one, but yeah, Instagram is probably the best way. And then, yeah, I look forward to talking with anyone who wants to reach out.
Love it. Thanks again so much. And thank you all so much for listening. To dive deeper into this episode, get those links that JB mentioned. You can head on over to staypaidpodcast.com. If you enjoyed this episode, I want to show your support. The first way is to head on over to Apple Podcasts, leave a 5-star review along with a comment. And the best way to help out the show is to tell a friend. If you want to get hold of me or Luke, you can email us at podcast@remindermedia.com, or you can find us on Instagram. We are at StayPaidPodcast. Endorsed by JB. JB said we're doing a lot of great things over there. So follow us at Stay Paid Podcast. For this episode of Stay Paid, I'm Joshua Stike.
Guys, and I'm Luke Acree. What a great episode, JB. Really appreciate you coming on. What a experience in real estate as a new agent to be on that show in their first year. It's unbelievable. So many golden nuggets that were pointed out on the show. Here's my action item for you, that because we want to always boil down the episode so you can take action on at least one item. You need to get confident in your pitch, and confidence comes through preparation. In your business, are you studying your hot sheets every single day? So if you're a real estate agent, are you looking at your market every single day? What's been sold? What's new? What's coming? Are you doing your research? Because confidence is going to come from repetition, like JB said, and also come from preparation. So that's your action item. Remember, the difference between top producers and mediocre producers in every single business is top producers take action. Take action on that today.